Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode. Sorry ma'am, of course your son can try the 7M SHU Hot Sauce. You want to have girls over all the time? Okay. Have it your way. Inflexible employer only giving me 25 cents per kilometer traveled in my personal vehicle. Infinite fuel cheat activated. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Sorry ma'am, of course your son can try the 7M SHU Hot Sauce. I work in a hot sauce store in a busy outlet mall. We're a well-liked locally owned business and have many loyal return customers, but at this particular location we also get a lot of tourists who are curious about our challenge items, or Hot Ones products. We have a large variety of samples available every day. Literally like 100 hot sauces, 50 plus barbecue/wing sauces just out on the table, and we can pull another 50 plus bottles or so from the fridge if one's open. Every so often we get people who come into the store and ask to try the hottest sauce. They love jalapenos in their burritos and have eaten habanero straight, and they're ready to enter the ring, swallow some sauce and gain the admiration of a couple friends and bystanders at the cost of a stomachache. We usually try to guide them to the 10th hottest sauce in the store, burn them with it, and move on to something mild or medium suited to their taste. Today, while I was selling items to people who were actually paying for things, a 10 or so year old boy enters the store. I always get wary when children enter the store alone because it is full of glass bottles. They usually dart straight for the shelves and pick something up, but this child came barreling towards me like a bullet. While I make change for the couple buying some sauce, he calls out to me, "Excuse me," in a horrendous whiny pitch. I ignore the rude interruption and continue my conversation with my customers. He parrots it again 12 times or so back to back as I thank these people and get them out of the store. Finally, I turn to him, "How can I help you? Where are this kid's parents? Hi, can I try the hottest sauce in the store? Not this shit again. I am not dealing with this, not with a 10-year-old kid." I explain to him that the hottest sauce on the table is Hellboy, Right Hand of Doom. It's spiked with a 6.66 million Scoville extract, and honestly, if you're not experienced with this kind of stuff, more than just a tiny bit can really mess up a good part of your day. Take my word for it. I explain to him he has to be 19 years old to try it and sign a waiver, which is bullshit, but I'm off in 30 minutes, and instead guide him to a tasty fermented habanero that he coughs his eyes out on before explaining to me that he could handle the Right Hand of Doom because his dad eats spicy peppers with him all the time. Okay. I say. He leaves, thank God. 15 minutes later, I'm interrupted by another customer. This time a gigantic woman in a blue blouse. She sat next to my sample table like a giant blueberry, blocking up 20% of my floor space. Excuse me. Apple doesn't fall far. The customers I'm with are polite and excuse me to speak to her. You didn't let my son try the sauce. I explained to her that it has extract in it several hundreds times hotter than anything he has ever eaten, and that it can cause him severe discomfort, and that I will not let him try it in my store. I explain that she is free to purchase the sauce and have him try it at home if she so wishes. She explains to me that she married a Mexican man and that I wouldn't believe the things we ate in New Mexico City, where he grew up. When I asked what they had eaten there, she told me things hotter than anything we have in the store. At this point her daughter interrupts our conversation. I shit you not, excuse me. What? I'm getting annoyed. I was annoyed from the second I saw the kid, and now he's back 20 minutes later with 3 of him. Why do you sell Valentina? It's not even a hot sauce. Aren't you from Mexico? It says salsa picante on the damned bottle. It's $5.50, I'm off at 6. I've had enough. How about this? You can try the sauce, and if it's as mild as you think, I'll let him try it. She agreed and grabbed her sample stick. I reached for the Right Hand of Doom and unscrewed the cap. Its nuclear aroma sending memories of aches to my stomach. As she goes to dip the stick into the sauce, I warn her to only take a small amount. She grins at me and dips the stick all the way into the sauce. Trap card. She slaps it into her mouth. Immediately she looks uneasy before she throws herself into pure agony. She is coughing, swinging her head back and forth, trying desperately to speak, but she cannot muster any words. She dropped her sample stick in all the chaos. After a solid few minutes of coughing and dry heaving, she manages a single word, water. I explain to her that water won't help her now. My relief walks through the door just in time to witness the finish. She tells me that the only reason she is coughing is because it went down the wrong pipe. She then immediately vomits into our garbage can. She apologizes for spitting up like she didn't just rocket launch half a liter of chum into my trash can and then leaves without saying anything else. I tossed out the trash with a smile on my face and clocked out. That is beautiful, precisely the way to handle this kind of parent. It's unfortunate that her poor kids will likely acquire her destructive attitudes, but I'm glad you didn't make one of them suffer unnecessarily because of their poor upbringings. Textbook narcissist. Compulsive liar too, clearly with all the "we're Mexican" shit. I always listen to the hot sauce expert even though I am Mexican. My BF is Latino. I'm part German, part Italian. I've been trying to find hotter sauces than 100,000 SHU cause it's the hottest I can find locally. My BF can't handle sriracha. It's adorable. I once went into a hot sauce store and wanted to try their hottest sauce. Luckily, the guy there suggested that I work my way up to it and gave me some milder stuff first. Haven't done that since. I love Reaper sauce on everything, but 6.6 ml sounds like something you use to clean engine parts. In Sydney, Australia. I was loosely given a dare by a work colleague to try the hottest sauce at a sales stand at my local country fair. I said no worries. As long as you buy me an ice cream and milkshake afterward. He said too easy. The lady at the store overheard our conversation and simply stated they won't help you. You can numb the pain for a short time, but this will be unlike anything you have ever experienced. She loaded the cracker with what I thought was the tiniest amount of paste. She was dead right. I was out of action for a couple of hours. Nothing made it better, not a thing. I went home that night and looked up the company and found the paste was made from the world's hottest known chili at the time, 2011, the Trinidad scorpion grown here in AUS from an American farm's seeds. I tried the Mad Dog 357 hot sauce once. I'm just fine never subjecting myself to that kind of torment again, thanks. I'll take my salsa verde and hours of activity instead of suffering. I bought my dad a bottle of Mad Dog 357 for Father's Day one year. I came back to his house later and he had put it in his toolbox out back and said he only uses it to get rid of moles in the yard. I love this, and as horrible as you make everyone sound for wanting to try hot stuff, I want to try it. This does remind me of a mate's kid, but in a good way. The amount of times we busted him for munching on his dad's wasabi peas as a 3-year-old was too comedic to take seriously. His dad just wanted them for himself. Once he tried a habanero sauce at a chili fair, which he found nice and a little spicy while a lady was dying off to the side from the same sauce. You want to have girls over all the time? Okay. Have it your way. The setup. I have a 2-bedroom house. I decided that I wanted to rent out the other bedroom in the house to make some money on space I wasn't really using after COVID. So I fixed up the place really nice. The tenant gets private, semi-attached bathroom. Bathroom is actually outside the bedroom, but I put up drapes between the bedroom and bathroom so tenant can walk between without me seeing. Common consumables. I pay for toilet paper, paper towels, laundry supplies, kitchen supplies, etc. I create the lease. The lease is very bare bones. It just says you get a room at this property. You pay this much per month. Landlord covers all utilities. Your lease is X months long. I created the ad. In the ad, I mentioned how it's okay to have guests over, but keep it to no more than twice per month. I did not put this into the lease agreement. You can see where this is going. I do a showing for a prospect, T. I tell him the guest policy and he seems just fine with it. I do the rest of the showing and all seems grand. He signs the lease agreement and moves in. The problem. The first month is grand. Anyone can fool someone for a month. But eventually you return to bad habits. His bad habit was women. He would have women over 4 to 5 nights per week. I did not appreciate this. I pulled him aside to tell him, hey, you're having a lot of girls over. You need to reduce how many girls over, or if you're willing to pay a bit extra for having all these girls over, I won't say a thing. He initially agrees with it. The next day, he calls me down and asks to speak with me at the dining room table. It's T and his girl du jour, G. T begins arguing, how can you ask for more money when that's not in the lease agreement? You can't ask for that. I told him the guest policy was in the ad and that we spoke about it when he came here. He said, yeah, but you can't ask for that. If it's not in the lease agreement, you can't do that. The guest policy isn't in the lease agreement either, so I pay rent. I can have over whoever whenever I want. G piped in, you just need to take the L on this one and write better lease agreements. I replied to G, you're not on the lease agreement, so I don't give a shit what you think about it. I turned to T, it was in the ad. We also talked about it when you came here. You knew about this. T replied, whoa man, calm down. It's just 6 months, man. That's my lease term. I'll be out of your hair in 6 months. I replied, why can't you stay at her place? G said, that's none of your business. Shut up, G. I don't care what you think. You want a problem, T? You got one. This is not cool and you know it. Why does she have to be here 5 nights a week? She practically lives here. I signed a lease with you, T, not with her. Why is she here? He shrugged, can't help it. Not in the lease agreement, man. That's what lease agreements are for. I was infuriated. We talked about this. He's choosing to follow the lease agreement. Okay, fine, what's a guy to do? I want him gone. I don't want T and G teaming up against me in my own house. They walked upstairs and turned on the loud music in their room. Later in the evening, G was downstairs cooking something on the stove by herself using my pots and pans. She's cooking for herself in my house. She's not even a tenant, but she sure is acting like one. G tried striking up a friendly conversation with me, but I just gave her absolute silence for 10 minutes while I cooked. I took my food upstairs. This is war. I'm going to follow the lease agreement to the letter. If I advertised a feature in the ad but it wasn't in the lease agreement, that thing is gone. The compliance. Every day I took something away. I first started by removing all the common consumables from the house. He texted me later, man, you removed all the consumables? You need to come down on the rent. I replied, not in the lease agreement. He said, it don't got to be like this. I removed the drapes between his room and the private bathroom. I took away the chairs for the dining room table. I then shut off the clothes washer and dryer, circuit breakers were in my room, and left taped up the location of a local laundromat. I also became an absolutely filthy roommate. I didn't clean anything. I left bags of garbage wherever I felt like. I never cleaned the kitchen and left the sink full of dishes. Please man, can you clean up? No. I had maid service. Cancelled that. I informed him of the change. Can you come down on the rent, man? Not in the lease agreement. You agreed to a rental price. Come on. I turned off the breaker to the stove and left out a wall outlet single pot electric plate for him to use. I turned off the microwave. Not in the lease agreement either. I actually started feeling bad for him. G started coming around less and less as I made the living situation worse and worse. Finally, he texted me, "Do you want me to move out?" I replied, "Yes, when are you leaving my house?" He said, "End of the month. You'll let me break the lease?" I replied, "Of course." He left at the end of the month. I had my house back. I made for sure to make my next lease agreement way more specific about everything. It was MC on both sides. This is why contracts spell everything out. If not, then this is the result. Totally worth a consult with a lawyer, specializing in landlord-tenant law. Anyway, you don't want to inadvertently run afoul of landlord-tenant laws for your city/state. This is malicious compliance regardless of whether other Redditors agree with you doing it. It belongs here. This definitely fits, but OP is a colossal idiot for manually creating a lease agreement. Legal reviewed ones for any jurisdiction are available online, often for free. Guests no more than twice a month. I'm amazed anyone was interested in living with you, TBH. The guy was likely desperate for a place to live and figured he'd negotiate it after signing the lease, then saw that it wasn't in the contract, so thought that the landlord had come to their senses. Guests only twice a month? That's a load of horseshit. The reason standard form leases exist. I mean, you were planning on being a good landlord and all, but that guy just had to be like that. What can you do? I can already tell some people may not like this OP LOL, but it is what it is. I think this fits here. Well played. Inflexible employer only giving me 25 cents per kilometer traveled in my personal vehicle. Infinite fuel cheat activated. I used to work as a computer technician. My employer was very stubborn during the hiring process and clearly said that I would be using my own vehicle and would be paid no more than 25 cents for each km traveled. Well, now, I didn't argue with him at all. I said that that is a fair price and I'm eager to start. What he didn't know was that I had a moped and that I carried all my tools in my backpack. 25 cents per kilometer traveled would not only cover my work costs, but all of my personal costs too. I went on a lot of mountain drives on the employer's wallet. Speaking of which, I was surprised how pleasant life is when you have infinite kinetic energy. I used to do this with diesel Jetta, which could get 1,000 kilometers to a 50L tank if I was cruising long highways. I'd get maybe $500 of reimbursement for a $75 tank, plus wear and tear. It was a great deal for a 10-plus-year-old beater. I used to work at a place that installed small electronic systems, fire alarm, PA, nurse call, CCTV, essentially anything for a buck. When I started, the owner was still issuing company pickups with bed covers, but all of them were already worn out and barely functional. Instead of fixing or replacing these trucks, he decided to hire people who would provide their own work trucks. But he paid poorly, so he only got one new hire, who had an old van. That guy's only qualification was that he was willing to use that van. None of his projects worked because he had no clue how to read drawings or follow installation instructions. Owner was happy though, until the guy's van broke down. The guy couldn't afford to fix it, so the owner fired him. Owner tried to trick me into paying for a new company van for me to use. His deal, he would buy a minivan and title it to the company. He would take the monthly payments out of my paycheck. When the van was paid off, he might sign the title over to me. He said he would decide when the time came. Also, insurance was on me, but I had to give the company a rider. He was irate that I declined his offer. Told him that I was not going to pay for a van and not have its title. Told him that I was not going to agree to make payments on a deal I had no part in negotiating, and that I couldn't afford new car payments on the low salary he was paying me. And I wasn't going to insure a vehicle that I didn't own. He fired me for insubordination. How far do you have to travel on average? Is your moped electric? The last job I had that paid for travel was about 10 years ago, and I remember getting around 55 cents per kilometer. I often had to drive like 500 kilometers to go to a district meeting. I was located in bum rush nowhere. Those checks, which I would write myself to reimburse myself, were always very welcome. Title says 25, but story says 30. I'm no mathematician, something doesn't add up. Just my 2 cents. My wife gets about $160 every day trip she makes to her company headquarters 2 hours away for mileage. She drives a Tesla with free supercharging. Nice little bonus for basically the cost of tire wear. Mileage allowance is meant to cover more than the cost of replacing consumable parts, gas and tires. It also compensates for the partial cost of owning a vehicle, i.e. the cost of buying a car, insurance, repairs, etc. I have a guy on my team that drives a scooter to his work sites. We pay whatever the IRS says for employee-driven vehicles. I'm guessing the scooter cost a couple $100 and gets 50 plus MPG. And, you know what? I could not care less. All I care about is that he gets to where he needs to be in a timely manner. One of his teammates complained to me, and all I had to say was, well, go buy your own scooter. How is this malicious compliance? Employers note that some employees will make a small profit off of these travel payments, and they don't care. It doesn't hurt their business at all, and accurately tracking how much fuel you consume isn't worth the effort. I'm doing this with my current job. But here in the States I am getting paid 0.65 cents per mile. So a 450-mile tank of gas that cost me $70, I'm getting paid $270 plus on a car I bought in cash for $10,000 and only has 120k miles on it. I plan on getting over 250k mile out of this, which at this rate the mileage reimbursement will pay for this car about 6 times. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.